one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. It's gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2-3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
I can't even think about all of the shit I did to fit in. Past hard to watch like a fucking scary movie. I'm always happy to meet somebody that never knew me. Change for the better, hope niggas are living through me. I put it all on the wax so the people can know the true me. Hard to remain sane when the people you love the most is what's causing the damn pain. Y'all beef by the same thing, we ain't playing the same game. It's all for my family. She the girl of your fucking dreams, but to me she a plain Jane. You dipper and ball man, I dump when them calls came. This that higher level thinking. I'm the type to jump the fuck off of the shit before it's sinking. Not here for no new shit, my game slider boosted. Ain't I don't have to prove shit, Rockstar fight the fool shit. My movie, this the new script. I want a life with no bullshit, nigga. I know on these news clips, that's why I dap him and move quick. Won't be around when they move switch, won't be around when they lose clips, won't be around for they lose lips. Might be the reason they pull shit. Yeah.
Conversation number one with Lamar Jackson is like, we got to get an extension done. By the way, 1A is we're going to take some of this other money and go get a receiver.
Oh,
so
here you go.
Absolutely. It's an allocation.
And you know what Lamar Jackson's going to say? He's going to say, okay, cut Marcus Peters and take his money and go get me a number one receiver because you've been spending all your equity and all your money on the defensive side of the ball. I'm the best player. Support me, not going out and getting Marcus Peters, Marcus Williams, and going out and getting all-star teams on defense. We need to score points, and you got to go out and get me a number one receiver. So cut that dude.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation. For one, I appreciate all the support from anybody who done supported me. I truly do appreciate it. But let's have a conversation. It is 5 in the morning. I done already been to sleep. My sleep schedule weird. I done knocked out my 4 hours of sleep. I was up. I got to the gym. I am now recording because, I was scrolling through Twitter. I eventually got to create a new Twitter eventually. But either way, I was scrolling through Twitter on my permanently banned account, which should not be permanently banned. But, I've been strolling through Twitter the last couple days, and I had been meaning to make a Lamar Jackson video, but I was like, bro, I done made so many Lamar Jackson videos. Let me let it breathe for a little bit. But you know what? Time's up. And this video ain't too much. It's a lot about Lamar. But it's not even going to be just about the Ravens organization. I want to talk about Ravens fans. Because you got this portion, so you got a split fan base right now. It's three different type of Raven fans. You got the Raven fans who feel like the Ravens is doing Lamar dirty and wasting his career right now. I fall under that category. You have the Raven fans who are in denial that Lamar Jackson is being wasted and feel like the Ravens can do this and that, can fix all these different problems. Oh, they can go get a receiver. They can go do this and that. Even though they've yet to do any of those things, you got the Ravens that fall under that category. And you got the Ravens who feel like, and that second category is also the people who, like, they'll see a post of John Harbaugh hugging Lamar, and then they'll post something like, oh, but I thought people wanted Lamar. He wanted to leave. And as if that has anything to do with Lamar Jackson's business side of football. And then you got those Raven fans who just think Lamar is a mid player, who don't take the Ravens as far as they should go. They don't really care that the weapons ain't there. They blame everything on Lamar. He off with his throws, yada, yada, yada. You got those three type of fans. Not really caring for the third fans. I'm not really addressing them in this one. I really want to talk about that second type of Raven fan right now. That's the fan that is not necessarily a Lamar Jackson fan. They love Lamar, but they are more team first type fans. Now, that's not always a bad thing. I'm not the biggest fan of team first type of fans because I feel like they say things that make absolutely no logical sense in the real world. Like in your everyday life, you would not say some of the things and agree to some of the things that you try to say these athletes should agree to because be a team player. All right. I never heard nobody go to work and try to be a team player. I heard everybody there to get their check. OK, but that's neither here nor there. But there are people who are team first type of fans. I'm not going to lie. I rarely see team first fans that really care a shit ton about Lamar. But it feel like players. It feel like, though, these type of team first Baltimore fans, They love Lamar. They know what he brings to this team, but they are in serious denial. I see people commenting on people's posts like that one example I told you about Harbaugh. Then I see them saying like, people, they get mad when any other Raven fan who feel like the Ravens is doing Lamar dirty suggests that he should leave. Now, I am the Raven fan that think Lamar should leave. That's not me saying I want him to leave. And I think that's the difference that the second group of Raven fans might not understand right now. I'm not telling you that I want Lamar Jackson to leave. Why in the fuck would I want Lamar Jackson not to be a Baltimore Raven? He's so very clearly the best Raven quarterback to ever exist. And it's not even just comparing him to Raven quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson is him. This is the first time the Baltimore Ravens have had a legitimate franchise quarterback. I love Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was a franchise quarterback because of longevity. He was nowhere near as talented as Lamar Jackson. Nowhere near. And so when you have that type of player, it changes things, in my opinion. Because Baltimore fans for a long time was used to defense in the run game. We never had a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, so I understand why some Baltimore fans could be in denial and think to themselves that the Ravens could fix all of this with Lamar Jackson. But I'm just here to tell you, because you've never experienced that, and most fans of a team are not fans of every team, okay? So they can't approach a situation that's happening with their team comparing it to other situations. I am a Baltimore fan. I got them tattooed on my arm. I've been a Baltimore fan my entire life. But I'm a fan of football. I'm a fan of the NFL. So I can separate my fandom and business and all this other type of shit. What I want Raven fans in Group 2 to understand is that we don't want Lamar Jackson to leave. But we realize how great Lamar Jackson is. And we don't want him to be stuck with an organization that's cheap. See, what this Group 2 of Raven fans don't want to accept is that the Ravens are a cheap-ass team. The reason we never had to address them being cheap is because we never had a quarterback. Even though I was a firm believer that if you got Joe Flacco legitimate weapons, he would have been better. But they never did. And they just banked on the fact that the defense and the run game could get him to the playoffs and Joe Flacco would turn up then. When you have an organization that take those type of chances, we always talk about in life evolution, because things always changing, so you have to evolve with the times. Yet nobody holds Baltimore accountable for their philosophy being the same since the start of the franchise. Run the ball, play defense, run the ball. The philosophy has never changed. And this is why this is a franchise that only has 2 Super Bowls in the amount of time that they've played. But everybody give them credit because they win a lot of games. But they don't win a lot of championships. They ain't in a lot of championships. They 2 for 2 in the Super Bowl. That's great. Imagine how much better Baltimore would be if they had a number 1 legitimate bona fide receiver on some of those Super Bowl contending teams that they've had. Could you imagine if in Lamar Jackson's unanimous MVP season, he had an actual bona fide number 1 receiver playing opposite of, or having Marquise Brown play and Marquise was Hollywood at that time. And that was Mark Andrews at his best, in my opinion. Could you imagine if they actually had a number 1 receiver in that group? Could you imagine if Joe Flacco, what I still can't understand to this day is Joe Flacco win the Super Bowl with those weapons he had, who was in their best seasons, and then they get rid of damn near all of them within the next 2 years. Dennis Pitta obviously left because of injury, but the Ravens are cheap. That's why when the receivers go down, most of the time, that's the season for the Ravens, because they don't have depth at that position ever. And nobody ever has had to call them out on it because they've never had a Lamar Jackson. They have a Lamar Jackson now. And the Ravens, since getting Lamar Jackson, it's okay to have been curious about Lamar Jackson upon drafting him. I was curious about him. After this kid took you to the playoffs his first year, he didn't even start the first year. The offense was not tailored around him. And you are under 500 before he came in, and he took you to the playoffs. That right there should have told you that this kid was different. His first full season in the NFL, he wins a unanimous MVP. And within the next 2 years, you don't say to yourself, we could go get him a number one receiver right now, and that would change everything. Because if you look at the tape for the Baltimore Ravens, it has never said the defense is a problem until the last 2 years. But they've been dealing with injuries and a lot of other things. You look at the tape, and it will tell you if they had a number one receiver for Lamar. Look at all that he is asked to do for this offense. He got to lead him in rushing. He got to be a great quarterback. He got to be a great decision maker. It's literally nothing that anybody else on this offense does on a consistent basis to take pressure off of Lamar Jackson. But I don't know if Raven fans in Group 2 understand that. Why would a generational talent like Lamar Jackson, fuck what we want? Why do you think that's okay that a generational talent like that stick? See, to me, I look at this as a LeBron James and Cleveland the first time around situation. Cleveland continued to have great records. They was the best team in the East for a couple years, but they were never. They got to that to the finals that one year against the Spurs and got swept out. Weird year in the East that year. However, they could never get over that hump with Cleveland the first time around because he didn't have the requisite talent around him. LeBron could only take you so far because carrying a team on your back this long all season, every single fucking year, that take a toll on you. That's why smart athletes know I need help. I want to play with somebody else who takes the pressure off of me being 100 great and perfect every single game because that motherfucker is just as good. Baltimore is no different than that Cleveland situation. And I'm confused as if Group 2 Raven fans understand that. He playing with Zaza Pachulias and Igalskis and Drew Goodins. And no disrespect to those dudes. But the Eric Snows and the Boobie Gibsons of the world ain't winning you no championship. And that's what we asking Lamar Jackson to go out there on a weekly basis and do. And now it's costing him his health. Why do you think, Raven fans in Group 2, why do you think that is okay? I done told you before, I'm a big component of, I don't want to see great talent wasted. I will always side with great athletes going to play with teams that give them a chance to be great and win. Because I truly believe every generational talent wants to be a champion. KD did not want to walk around knowing as good as he was not a champion. Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kobe, even though Kobe never had to leave the Lakers. So many players, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady knew he had something left in the tank. He was not finishing his career with a bad New England team, and they wouldn't go get him weapons. He went to a team where he knew he had weapons where he could still be Tom Brady. Why would Lamar Jackson, knowing as talented as he is, why would you even want that? Why do you want to see somebody as talented as him playing with dudes who retired that they continue to bring out? I'm shocked they haven't went out and signed Terrell Owens. I'm being dead ass. Like, Terrell Owens fit all the criteria of the Ravens signings. I'm shocked they haven't went out and got him. But all the journeyman receivers that they continue to get. Oh, they trying, they draft. Bro, Rashad Bateman is not even a hands-catching receiver. How do you think he is going to be the number one receiver of a team when he does not make catches with his hands on a regular basis? Marquise Brown. People walking around. I never thought Marquise was a number one receiver. But for the people who continue to try to paint this picture that he was a number one receiver, like, bro, you just admit that you don't like Lamar Jackson. Because to continue to try to fool the public that any of the receivers Lamar Jackson has ever played with are anywhere near number. I personally don't think Lamar Jackson done played with a number 2 receiver, let alone a number 1. But let the media continue to convince you that they have. To the Raven fans in Group 2 who continue to say the Ravens can go out and get him a receiver, why haven't they? Why haven't they? And for the people who continue to, because another thing that's really pissing me off is when people say, look at the record that they got. Do you know the Ravens have not beaten a team that was over 500 since like week 5 when they beat the Bengals? The Bengals were not over 500 at the time of them beating the Bengals. The Bengals are over 500 now. They were not at the time the Ravens beat them. So you would have to go back even further to find a team that the Ravens had beat when they were over 500. People keep giving the defense all this credit. The defense ain't played against a good offense in weeks, and they still lost to the Jags. People talk like we're not even talking about the Steelers, but I see people giving the Steelers compliments. The Steelers have not beaten a team over 500 in months. The last 2 teams they played that were over 500, they lost both games. But they beaten all the teams they played that's under 500. So I don't know if the analysts want to go into, football and actually, I don't care about stats, but how about we point out stats that actually do matter? People keep trying to eliminate some of the shit that Lamar done, because this team ain't in the playoffs if not for what Lamar done for us this season. And now so all of a sudden, clearly we are a better defense with Roquan Smith. But can we not act like we going out there beating teams that's got Pat Mahomes on them every week? We're beating teams that ain't even over 500. We haven't beaten a team that was over 500 since week 3. Like I said, the Bengals were not over 500 when we beat them in week 5. We played the Giants, who were over 500, and blew that game. So I know we going a lot of different places right now, but just the whole situation as far as Baltimore and Ravens fans and Group 2 is concerned, where they think the Ravens fans is going to figure all this out, they're going to do this, they're going to do... What is making you believe that? I really don't understand Raven fans who believe they'll go out and get Lamar Jackson a weapon. Bro, they signed Deshaun Jackson and Dez Bryant, both of players we thought were retired. They continue to bring journeyman receivers over and thinking, we did enough. They refuse. Bro, the Ravens drafting the back end of the draft. They are not drafting at the top. So continuing to give him credit for drafting, maybe he great, maybe he not, receivers at the back end of the draft, continues to blow my mind that they continue to get credit for that. Not only that, they don't know how to draft receivers. Pittsburgh is drafting top flight. Do you know that Baltimore Ravens passed up on Pickens, 3 times in the draft this year? They clearly don't even have an eye for receiver talent. So what is this they keep trying? I told you, make a list of every receiver that Lamar Jackson has ever played with in his career. After you get past Mark Andrews, who's not even a wide receiver. See, I don't think people understand football in its entirety. If you cannot threaten every blade of grass, then you are not a complete offense. For some reason, fans don't understand that. They think just because you have Mark Andrews, a dude who worked the middle of the field, who is really not even a vertical threat, they think that should just be enough for Lamar Jackson. How do you think that? If the cornerbacks on the outside don't have to worry about it, and the reality is, it's no defense in the NFL that could not stop these Ravens receivers by just straight up manning up. But you can't do that when you got a Lamar Jackson in the backfield. Everything that the defense do is dictated on Lamar. Not a single receiver dictates what a defense is going to do to the Ravens. Not a single receiver dictates what a defense will do to the Ravens. And one of the saddest parts about this all is Marquise Brown, the only thing he dictated for the opposing defense was don't let him get deep. They figured that shit out in a season with Marquise Brown. That he can't beat man off the press. He can't beat man. He can't beat the press. He not a great route runner. So defenses said, well, we know how to stop him. And the rest was history. Because you can continuously double Mark Andrews. I really can't remember the last time Mark Andrews didn't have 2 people trailing him or on him at all times. Because why would I let Mark Andrews go crazy and beat me when it's nobody else on this team not named Lamar Jackson who got a chance in hell to beat me? And the Ravens keep thinking, not to mention the Ravens continuously sign undersized receivers. Oh, Lamar Jackson got to be great with James Prochet, with Devin Duvernay. What's going on? But Raven fans in Group 2 continue to tell me the Ravens will go get him a receiver. And I continue to tell people, how are all the great receivers? Because people keep saying that the Ravens trying. That really do piss me off. Because trying is the Buffalo Bills going out and getting Stephon Diggs for Josh Allen. Trying is what the Bengals have done for Joe Burrow. Trying is the receivers that the Cardinals went out and got for Murray. Trying is going out and getting Tyreek Hill. And I don't want to disrespect D-Hop, so let me say D-Hop. Going out and getting D-Hop for the Cardinals. Trying is going out and getting Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but getting Tyreek Hill after you got Jalen Waddle for Tua. That's trying. What the Ravens are doing is not trying. They half-assing it, and they got these bozo and I'm sorry, Raven fans in Group 2. But the fact that you defend this nonsense is moronic. It's stupid. It makes no sense. Look at every single one of the top quarterbacks in the league right now that they continuously talk about. And look at the offensive weapons they have at their disposal. And look at what Lamar Jackson has had at his disposal over his 4 years in Baltimore. If you don't realize that that's Lamar Jackson making those dudes better, so you overhype those dudes because of Lamar, then I don't know what games you watching. Because nobody on Lamar Jackson's receiving core would be a starter on really any team in the league, unless it was a bad team like the Texans. The Ravens wouldn't even go out and get Cook from the Texans. Who is it? I don't know if Cook a number one receiver. He put up number one receiver numbers, but I really think Cook is a number two because of his height. But he better than every receiver on the Ravens since Lamar done been there. And they wouldn't even go get him. The Ravens continue to show you time after time they ain't spending big money on a receiver. But you want Lamar Jackson to continue to play in Baltimore with no help like the other top quarterbacks have. He continued to be compared and ridiculed because of said not having the help. The Ravens go out and spend all this money on the defensive side of the ball. They got damn near a defensive all-star team over there on a yearly basis. But they won't go out and spend for Lamar, the dude that's actually carrying the team. Do you understand how twisted and backwards that philosophy is? That makes no sense. That's like me going out and buying a new car, but putting all my maintenance and money into an old raggedy car that I got sitting at the house. I mean, shit, if I was going to buy a new car and put all my money into the other car, I should have just put all my money into that one and got that shit fixed up and not have bought the new car. That don't even make sense. That's like buying a new refrigerator, but putting all my food in the old refrigerator that I'm replacing. What is the point of having a new one? They are not putting any effort into Lamar Jackson. What is the purpose of having him? If you're not going to go out and spend, like I would understand people saying he shouldn't ask for $250. Well, no, I wouldn't, because I think he deserved that easily. But I could understand the Ravens asking him to take a little bit less if they had shown him in the first 4 years of his career they were going to go out and get a number one receiver. Because they had 4 years to do it. He was on a rookie contract. He was a 31st pick in the first round, a 32nd pick in the first round. They had him on a contract to which they could go out and get him a number one receiver. They never did. Every other team did for their top quarterbacks. The Ravens didn't. Then they traded away Marquise Brown and didn't replace him. Do you understand how wickedly stupid the Ravens' game plan or organization has done Lamar? We'll go out and trade for a Roquan Smith. We'll go out and sign a Marcus Williams. We'll go out and trade for a Marcus Peters. We'll go out and sign a Justin Houston. We'll go out and sign a Calais Campbell. We'll use trades in the draft to bring in Odafe Owe. We'll do all these other things on the defensive. We'll sign Marlon Humphreys to an extension. We do some fucking way to give Chuck Clark a contract extension. We'll do all that on the defensive side of the ball, but we'll spend the bare minimum on the offensive side of the ball for the quarterback that has been carrying his team since he got here. How does that make sense? Like, that does not make sense. I understand life ain't fair, the NFL ain't fair, yada, yada. But why would Lamar Jackson re-sign with a team that has done that? And then you don't pay him. What? You can't have it both ways. You can't be cheap when it comes to surrounding Lamar with talent, and then you say, we not paying you the contract that you... What? How does that work? Every single move the Ravens have made is clear signs that they have no interest of truly winning. They are using Lamar Jackson to stuff their pockets. They do not have any interest in giving Lamar a legitimate chance to compete with other offenses. And that's one of the things that really is confusing to me. That's dead ass confusing. And it's been confusing me for a long time. How the Ravens can sit back, watch Josh Allen, what he done with Stephon Diggs the last couple years. Watch Pat Mahomes and what he was over there doing with Tyreek Hill the last couple years. Watch Joe Burrow and what he doing with those receivers over there in Jamar Chase. Watch what Justin Jefferson has done for that Vikings offense. It's so confusing. With Tua getting Tyreek and Waddle, it is so confusing to me that the Ravens can sit back and watch lesser than quarterbacks play above their talent because of receivers and still refuse to go do that for Lamar. I don't understand that. How can you look at that, and Raven fans in Group 2, and say Lamar should stay with a team like that? That don't make sense. Like, you literally know that don't make sense. I don't know if it's something that you just can't hear out loud or you can't process it because you're so deep in this being a Raven fan thing. I don't know. Because I even know Raven fans done started calling certain Raven fans Lamar fans. And I'm like, I was a Raven fan before Lamar Jackson, but because I have a high interest in Lamar being great and I don't want him to stay in a team that's not going to spend to keep him being like, why? I'm looking at Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes, I told you, I feel the same. So I'm not even going to use Pat Mahomes. I'm looking at a dude like Josh Allen. Look at how he played before he got... Look at how he played with Stephon Diggs at times. But Stephon Diggs has done wonders for his career. Justin Jefferson. I done went over all of them. You know all the... Shit. I don't even think Kyler Murray a franchise quarterback, but look at what he is when he got DeAndre Hopkins on the field. Tom Brady did not leave New England and go play with bad receivers. He went to go play with a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin. Like, Dak Prescott ain't playing with bums. He done had an Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. Like, Baker Mayfield played with Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff had a Cooper Kupp. Like, Aaron Rodgers had a Devontae Adams. Look at how he looked without him. Derek Carr, they go out and get Devontae Adams. You got team after team after team willing to go out and trade for a number one receiver. The Ravens are yet to do that. They have the quarterback. People keep making excuses for him. How in Jesus' name do you think Lamar should stay with a team that operate like this? And it's not like they won't spend money. Like I said, they continue to spend money on the defensive side of the ball. I heard Bart say the other day, if the Ravens came to Lamar Jackson and said, this is a contract we want to give you, but listen, we giving you this because this money we're going to use to go get you a weapon. I would tell them, no, you're not going to use that money to go get me a weapon. I'm getting all of that, and you can cut Marcus Peters or make one of these other defenders take a pay cut. Because the money that you should be spending to go get me weapons, you continue to spend it on the defensive side of the ball. Yet this defense keep blowing leads against good teams when we up. But somehow we give them credit now when they beating teams that's under 500. So now the organization can feel like, oh, we made great moves. We went out and got those defensive players. But none of the teams they beaten is over 500. Not only that, you see what the offense is. And like I said, how can you look at how bad this Ravens offense is and then look at these other offenses? And Joe Burrow and that offense got to the Super Bowl in 2 years. And they looked at that and said, what? I just do not understand the Raven fans in that group too, the media, the Ravens. Like, dead ass, from where I'm sitting, the Ravens dead ass look like one of the worst organizations in football right now to me. And I've been a Raven fan my whole life. But the fact that you have a generational talent playing quarterback and you refuse to spend any real significant money on getting him legitimate weapons, and you keep the same offensive coordinator who he clearly done grown out of, and you say that you are trying to compete for a Super Bowl. It's very strange to me. It's very confusing to me. I cannot for the life of me understand how the Ravens keep getting away with this shit. But listen, to those Raven fans, I'm not trying to beef with you. All right? I don't want Lamar to leave. But I want him to get the fuck out of Baltimore, because there's no way I'm finna trust that a team that ain't spent big on a quarterback in years to get him help is going to do it now after they wouldn't do it while he was on a rookie contract. See, that's the whole crutch of this thing for me. Why should I believe they're going to go out and spend on him now when they wouldn't? Listen, they had 4 years to go get this man a real weapon. They didn't do it. And then they would not pay him knowing they weren't going to go get him a weapon. How do you look at that and think that that's a team that deserved Lamar Jackson? The Dolphins, I'm pretty sure, know Tua is not a Lamar, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen type of player. And they went out and spent big to get him weapons. You don't think another team in the NFL going to go out, sign Lamar for what he want, and go get... And this is what's funny to me. I'm almost certain Lamar would take a pay cut for any team he went to because he knew they would go get him weapons. Because I'm pretty sure Lamar not signing with a team without the knowledge. Are you going to sign a number one receiver or trade for one? Because you ain't signing shit. You got to go out and trade for him. Put Lamar Jackson on the Vikings. Put Lamar Jackson on the Lions. Put Lamar Jackson on the Rams. Put him on the Jets. Put him on the Dolphins. Like, it's so many. Don't put him on the Colts, bro, because the Colts is just as bad as the Ravens when it comes to weapons. But even though Michael Pittman might be the best receiver for both teams, regardless, I just need Raven fans in that group, too, to understand. The Raven fans in Group 1 who are big time for Lamar, we don't got nothing against the Ravens, but we just understand that this team is not doing enough. They've never done enough for Lamar. They are holding him back. He have a ceiling on how great he can be because of them. Yet and still, every year Lamar's career, he done put the Ravens in position to be the not just first to win a conference, to win a division. He done had him in position to win the AFC, to finish with the best record in the AFC every year of his career. He done had that opportunity. You want to know the only other quarterback who really been doing that since they've been a starter in the AFC? Pat Mahomes. This is why I constantly compare those two. And yet, because the media don't like how Lamar played quarterback, they don't talk about him in the same light, even though he has truly been the comp to Pat Mahomes. And he's never had the weapons. And the Ravens continue to get a pass. Could you imagine if a white quarterback didn't have his weapons? Just be real. If a white quarterback as good as Lamar Jackson did not have weapons around him, they'd talk about it. How do you know that? Because they continue to tell me Joe Burrow ain't got weapons when Jamar Chase go down. And the motherfucker got 3 number ones. They continue to tell me that the Chiefs, the Chargers, Justin Herbert ain't got weapons. And that motherfucker got Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. So, could you imagine if a white quarterback were playing in this Baltimore offense? Bro, people would be saying Baltimore is a trash organization. They not doing enough for the quarterback. They holding them back. But because it's Lamar, oh yeah, the Ravens have done everything. I still can't get out of my head Mark Schlereth, what he was saying, bro. Like, I want to slap the shit out of Mark Schlereth. And I don't like saying aggressive shit like that at times because, bro, who gonna sign you and give you a chance when you talking like that? But you got to respect my realness. I be wanting to slap the shit out of some analysts, how they talk. Not really. I done fixed my aggressiveness. But Mark Schlereth shit just to me came from a place of so much disrespect that it really pissed me off, because that archaic way of thinking, to me, to have an archaic way of thinking at this age and this time just tells me that you have purposely made a decision to not evolve your way of thinking. Like, you said to yourself one day, I'm going to be stuck in this way of thinking. I do not care what anybody else thinks around me. I'm thinking like this regardless of what happened, the evolution of the game, the evolution of the sport, the evolution of quarterbacks, whatever. That's just wild to me. Continue saying quarterbacks make the receiver when you got Justin Jefferson's walking around, Devontae Adams walking around, like Stephon Diggs walking around, like you just Tyreek Hills, like to say stuff like that, making that decision for quarterbacks you don't want to give any credit to, so you try to say a quarterback should make the receiver. Not only that, Lamar Jackson has made. Hell, I even get irritated with Steve Smith Sr. talking about the Ravens have receivers. How can we continue to say the Ravens have receivers when none of these receivers have ever produced in any spot they have ever been in, but Lamar Jackson has, and we say he the problem? When has that ever happened for anybody else? Where Lamar Jackson won a unanimous MVP, but somehow he holding the receivers back. These receivers have never been good any place they've played at, but Lamar holding them back. How do that make sense? Like, I don't see that type of energy for no other quarterback, but somehow Lamar holding these receivers back. What the fuck are we doing? And I love Steve Smith Sr., bro. I love Steve Smith Sr. But what the fuck? I understand you want to defend receivers, but this is just out of pocket. You ain't never in your lifetime, since these receivers have been in the league, seen them have success anywhere they've had a team at, unless they've had an elite quarterback making them look better than they are. But somehow when they come to Lamar, who has religiously made the players on his team better, now he holding them back. I'm very confused because I know what I'm seeing, bro. I'm not finna let people who on TV every day try to convince me of what I'm seeing. I know what the fuck I'm seeing when I'm watching these games, and I don't miss no game. I know what I'm seeing. So to me, it's baffling. It's baffling. Like, I just don't understand. Let me put it like that. And like I said, listen, to the Raven fans in group number 2, I get it, bro. You love the Ravens. I love the Ravens. But I like seeing what I love more is seeing great players be great. And Lamar Jackson is generational. I don't want to see him stuck on a team that's not willing to go all out to get this man to a Super Bowl. I want to see him in the 49ers or a team that's willing to go out and actually spend the money to make. Bro, you got teams like Dallas who's spending money on both sides of the ball. You got teams like the Bills who spend money on both sides of the ball. I mean, damn, the Chiefs don't even spend big money on the defensive side of the ball, but they constantly making sure they go out and getting pat weapons after. Like, what is going on? So, listen, I appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm pretty sure we'll have a discussion like this again, because I'm going to keep coming to my guy's defense. Lamar Jackson is him, bro. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Tell somebody you fuck with him. Tell somebody you love him. Happy holidays. Saint out.
Winning has a price. And leadership has a price. So I pull people along when they didn't want to be pulled. I challenge people when they don't want to be challenged.